I'm Dr. Dejana, and I'm here with Dr. Leah. Hello, Dr. Leah.
Hello,
Hello,
Dr.
Dr.
Dejana. So
Dejana. So
happy to
happy
be
to be
here.
here.
And
And
today we
today
are
we
going
are
to
going to
talk
talk
about
about
how to
how to
make
make
the
the
summer of
summer of
2020
2020
a
a
memorable and
memorable and
fun
fun
experience. Like,
experience. Like,
let
let
go of the
go of the
fact that
fact
you've
that
been
you've
your
been your
kid's
kid's
educator
educator
full
full
time
time
for
for
this
this
last few
last few
months
months
and
and
try
try
to
to
sort of
sort of
rejuvenate that
rejuvenate that
family
family
feeling.
feeling.
I love that. Let's embrace that joy that I used to experience when interacting with my children. Um, let's let's embrace that again as we move into summer. I am all for that, especially since really today was our last official day of school, and so now our whole family is transitioning to summer mode. And even though we've been at home the whole time, we still are feeling excited for summer.
I
I
think that
think
is
that
true
is
for
true for
most
most
families.
families.
So,
So,
Dejana, do you
Dejana,
want
do
to
you want to
introduce our
introduce our
panel?
panel?
Absolutely. So, again, we want to welcome our panelists, amazing contributors as always. First up, I'd like to introduce Tim Griffin. Thank you again for joining us. Tim has taught all subjects in Title I elementary schools in Los Angeles for 18 years, giving up his tenure to start Griffin Education Solutions, better known as Griffin Ed. You folks should check this out. He loves writing and sharing new music with kids and seeing how they not only get excited about STEM and other subjects we teach, but actually perform better on standard-based assessments of their knowledge and vocabulary. Please check out his site, griffined.com. We also are welcoming Anne McMullen.
Oh,
Hi, Anne.
hi.
Thank you. Thank you again for joining us. Anne is an education consultant based in Los Angeles, California, who works throughout the United States and internationally as a public speaker. Her focus is on leadership. She is the author of Life Lessons in Leadership and is currently the project director of COSIN Empowered Superintendents Program. Welcome, Anne.
Thank you, Dejana. Great to be here.
Also, welcoming Mark Riddle to the team. I don't have any specific information
Well,
about
let
you,
me
Mark.
do the introduction for Mark and
Thank
Jamie
you.
because I have both those. So Mark is a
Awesome.
PhD in sociology from the University of California, and he currently serves as the University Director of Educational Effectiveness for West Coast universities, putting out a lot of nurses for the frontline work right now that's going on. And it's an institution that's dedicated to educating healthcare professionals. So they're giving us a lot of help during this COVID-19. And Mark lives near LAX, and he lives there with Stacy and their two cats. And Jamie Wagner is a fifth grade teacher, math specialist at her school, and she has a triple MA degrees. She has a master's in psychology, one in education, and then a marriage and family therapy MA. So she applies all of those degrees as a teacher, a therapist, and likely especially as a parent and wife. Welcome, Jamie and Mark. So on the subject of keeping this summer, not just like a fun summer that we all look forward to every year, but finding something that can make this memorable. Like, what kind of project could you do that really could start at the beginning of the summer and keep you going all the way through the middle or the end of the summer, and offer something that the kids will look back and think, wow, that summer of 2020. Remember when we were quarantined for the whole spring and then we did ta-da. What is your ta-da? Tim, I think you had some ideas on that subject.
Yeah, well, just one quick correction, Dejana, for my website, it's griffined.org because we're a nonprofit, and so we just give the music away for free on the website. But for what do we do with the summertime? One thing I'm working on with the kids in my household is we've gotten back into Pokemon Go, because it's a way to get the kids up in the morning and get their shoes on, get out the door, and have some kind of a schedule where we get some exercise, we get some outdoor time. Because we're learning to live with the fact that there's going to be a lot more screen time this summer than usual. But if we can start while the weather is cool and get out the door and do something at the start of the day that's fun, where we're together and we're talking, that makes the rest of the day go a little more smoothly. If you happen to live anywhere near Descanso Gardens in La Cañada, they open at 8 in the morning for members, and they only allow about 30% capacity inside. and they require us to wear our masks. But we can just walk around, and the Pokemon hunting is very thick there.
That's good to know.
That's excellent. Now, is that a free for the community service, or what's the fee for people to get in?
Yeah, it's a nonprofit, but you do have to buy a ticket, or you can get a family membership. It's a really good value for a family membership. I think it's about $70 for a year for 2 adults with kids.
Very nice. And Anne, what about you? I know Dejana has dropped off the internet, these technical issues of all of us working from home. She's trying to get back on, but until then, let's just talk about what your ideas might be, Anne.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I actually did a little research online, looking to see, okay, what are some things to do in the summer of 2020 with COVID-19, and how do you pull it all together? And one website I found was called realsimple.com, and I'm going to give you just a couple of things. One of them is camp out in the backyard, just have a family camp out there. I love this one, have a water balloon fight. I think that sounds like really a fun thing to do, and get after that with that. Also talked about a backyard scavenger hunt, and I could see where half the family maybe hides things and the other half has to go find it, and kind of have a competition within the family to do that. Or Leah, when I read this one, it was right up your alley, grow a little garden. I know you've been growing a big garden, but something to take on and do that. Or we talked a little bit about last week, things that we're seeing on the sidewalk, and they talked about a sidewalk chalk art garden, or gallery rather, and put that out there. And one more I'll offer right now, and then we'll chat some more later, is to master something new, a new dance step, a new hobby, a new cooking technique, so just try something new and see where it goes. So yeah, lots of fun things that people can do together. I do like the water balloon fight. I think that sounds like fun.
I like that idea myself. I think that could be especially when the weather gets as hot as it has been in the last few days, right? Dejana, I see you made it back. I was happy to see you trying to get back in. I knew you'd make it eventually. And Mark, I wonder if there's anything that you'd like to suggest for summer fun that will leave memories.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm up to the Leah challenge, the one overriding thing that'll make or break the summer. But like Anne, I had some thoughts about things that I think might keep some entertained. I think about when Chris was just getting into elementary school, for example, and from time to time we'd have museum day, right? So, and we'd try to pick the day that was free or whatever. Yeah. And the planning for that day always involved Chris suggesting someplace that we could go afterwards, typically for ice cream or something like that. Well, I don't know if the museums are ever going to open up again, but I had a great time looking at the NOAA virtual dives that Dr. Dejana suggested on Monday. And I think a lot of museums have gone virtual. So you might still be able to do a quickie version of that, because you can still head over to get the ice cream someplace. Those places are open for drive-through after a little virtual tour of a museum or something. Just thinking about smaller things too, kind of like Anne, I guess. There are a few really inexpensive stop motion software apps, and I've seen a lot of kids on Facebook posting things that they've done using that kind of software. Funny stuff with Legos or carrots or whatever else. Right. And a lot of kids just really, well, like my son, really get into that highly detailed thing that's got their attention completely for a couple hours. And at the end of a couple hours, you have a couple minutes of video to share with people, and you can have your own little film festival. So that might be entertaining for some folks. Think about
that's a fun idea.
But if family getaways are really canceled this year, then there's at least sort of the hope that sometime post COVID will be at it again. And so just a little time sort of dreaming about what vacations we could go on might be kind of a fun thing to keep the hope alive for that kind of thing. All right, I just think about sort of the common things that we used to do. I used to challenge Chris to take interesting photographs, and we substitute that into the refrigerator art gallery from time to time. And you could pretty much do that as a whole summertime activity. This week we're doing close-up photography of whatever. Best stuff goes on the fridge.
That's a great idea.
Nothing that's going to make the entire summer memorable, but at least some time fillers anyway.
I especially like the idea of the projecting and planning future vacations, because you could add some research to that and have the kids actually really plan out what they want to see when they go to those places. And I like that idea. Thank you. So Jamie, you've got a couple to entertain this summer. What's the plan?
I do. Well, I think this summer is a good summer to do something together where you're all sort of on the same playing field, because I think with everybody being home, there was a lot of parents having to step into the teacher role, as we're talking about here. And sometimes that creates a hierarchy sort of situation in the household that can become uncomfortable. So sort of activities that bring us all back into something together as a team are kind of nice, I think. And because we have so much time this summer, doing a project where a little bit a day equals something large at the end. Like if you wanted to paint a mural, or if you had, back of a garage, you could paint big flowers on, and you start by just outlining it. Maybe you spend a couple minutes each day just coloring in one petal. By the end of this summer, you'd have a whole thing figured out. And I love what Anne was saying about mastering something, because I really think a summer like this is the summer of the 2 minutes a day. Yeah. So you want to master jumping rope, you want to master riding a bike, you want to master bouncing a ball, whatever it is. This is a great summer for everybody in the family to figure out what you're going to commit 2 minutes a day to and what you can do together. But I think this is a great time to all sort of come together. And I would also like to do a book club where we read a book that each person sort of gets to choose a book and we get to read it together, or listen to the audio book. There are some authors that do or some actors who do a fabulous job of reading audiobooks these days. And that could be a lot of fun for everybody to do together, and then do something fun at the end of the book.
Yeah. May I follow up quickly on something Jamie just said? Over at Griffin Ed, we're working on creating a musical book club where I'm working with some other musicians, where each of us is picking a favorite book and writing a song that's not going to be a plot summary. We're not doing a musical Cliff's Notes. What we're trying to do is sort of create a musical trailer, as it were, to make kids, hear the song and say, oh, I want to read that book. We just posted the first one yesterday. It's about a book called Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. And we're going to be doing a Harry Potter song next week. It's a tribute to Neville Longbottom by a friend of mine. And as we get more songs, we'll be posting them over the course of the summer and the fall.
Oh, that's great, Tim.
Fabulous. Thank you. And what is this? So I am not a Dungeons and Dragons player. I sort of know about it peripherally, and that's about it. I remember when the rights were being negotiated for the film version, which I don't think was ever made. But what's the story there? Is that an ongoing thing you could do over the course of the summer that would add sort of hidden education elements in it?
Well, I'll talk about it a little briefly, because we just this year got really interested in doing these role-playing games as a family. The family movie night got old in my house, so we came up with, well, why don't we do a deep dive into this D&D thing and see if we like it? And we're now obsessed. So I haven't actually used it as an educational tool, but it is a great tool to bring the family together, where we can have fun and be creative and role play and go on adventures on our dining room table. And everyone is invested. It does have aspects of math, aspects of innovation. And my favorite part is the storytelling, which is huge. We all take, depending on what so you can do different campaigns. Let's call them stories. And we all take turns being what's called the dungeon master, which is basically the leader or the narrator of the story. So I'm going to let Tim kind of comment a little more. Really, this is just our second year playing these role-playing games. There's lots of them out there. Dungeons and Dragons is just one, D&D is one example of many different types of role-playing games you can play as a family together.
Yeah. I in addition to the stuff Dejana's talking about, because it's just a great way to get a family together for an extended period of time, where you can get away from the screen. And I say this as an avid video gamer, but the neat thing about actually interacting with other humans is, the storytelling, the talking, the negotiating. There are a lot of skills that we can work on with that in kind of a low key way, where we don't have to teach a lesson about diplomacy, for example. But if you integrate some diplomacy into the game as the dungeon master, then the kids pretty quickly figure out that there are some fights that can be bypassed, or some potential enemies who might become allies if you can handle the situation in a productive way. And I actually ran a campaign for some kids on the autistic spectrum a long time ago, and the kids learned a whole lot about how to use their words to get a better outcome. And furthermore, even though there is some expense, you got to buy the dice and a few miniatures and a few rule books to start up. But when you think about how many hours of game time you get for that, it is a really fantastic value. I have friends who have been keeping their collective storytelling with their groups going for decades with very little added equipment.
Really? So what's the startup cost for a family?
I think on Amazon you can get the starter kit that includes, a short adventure for, I think it's like $30 or something like that, and that'll keep you busy for a few evenings. And if everybody likes it enough to go further, then there are a couple of rule books you should get. There's a player's handbook, a dungeon master's guide, and a monster manual. You'll probably spend about $80 or $90 for all three of those, but you only have to do it once. And compare this to $60 you pay for a new video game that kind of burns out after a month or two, whereas this just keeps getting deeper and deeper, and there's really hardly anything else you need to buy.
And do you make up games as you go through, or you're playing games that they've established?
I think it can go both ways. So your starter kit gives you a story that you can kind of follow as you learn the rules of the game. And that's super, super helpful. I definitely recommend, if you're thinking about engaging in role play through D&D, start with the starter kit. It's going to help you kind of get familiar with the rules. I was invited to join a campaign with people that really do this, and they're on another level than I am. So I would say definitely start with the starter kit. But as you get more familiar with the rules of the game, you can then develop your own stories and lead your own campaigns, which that's kind of where we're at right now. And that is so exciting and fun. And also you're right, like we're learning about diplomacy, storytelling, deal making, deal breaking, all of these things in life, but through role play. And my kids love it because it reminds them of the first person video games that they love, the same sort of choices and situations. And honestly, a lot of video game design, story design, came from role playing games like D&D back in the 80s. So there is definitely a connect. If you have kids like mine that love doing role-playing games in the video game world, this is a way to take them away from the screen and they're just as engaged in the storytelling, but we do it together as a family. So I know we'll definitely be spending some time doing various different campaigns over the summer.
Yeah. A quick look on the used booksource sites that I frequent says that there's a lot of those manuals and whatnot are available on the cheap too. So you could probably do it, for less than Tim was suggesting.
I mean, you can do it for free if you want to. I don't know if it's legal, but there are lots of PDFs around where if you just want a low entry point to try it out, I think you can get an account on the D&D website and you can have access to some free stuff. And then as you continue, you can get a subscription or whatnot. So there's definitely a low cost entry. I'd say.
That's because it's important, especially this summer. There are a lot of parents not working. There are a lot of people dealing with uncertainty about the future. So finding something that they can do that doesn't require a whole lot of reaching into the pocket. Jamie, what's you're relying on your psychology and education degrees for a minute. What do you think about the amount of screen time that is now sort of the given, the natural, since
Well, I think it's not awesome, but I think it's also where we find ourselves right now, and we have to be flexible. And I think we keep in mind that this isn't the new normal. This is what's getting us through, but our children have to socialize with each other. And if the only way they can socialize is through a screen, then we have to be able to accommodate that and to understand that they'll learn to socialize face to face again. They'll be excited to see their friends again. My kids can't wait to have play dates and play with other children. But they do, it's nice to celebrate with them too, how much screen time they get, because at least they get a win, right? Right now is a tough time for any of us to find a win. And if their win is, I get to play a lot more than I used to, then so be it.
And Anne, your advice on this, you were sort of running tech for your school district way before tech was even a conversation. I think you're muted still.
It wouldn't be Zoom if we didn't have the, oh, you're muted line. So yeah, Leah, thank you for that great age reference. I appreciate that. But yes, I did since mid 90s or so, been working around tech for learning and different things. And the issue around screen time is really, what are you doing on the screen? And so to Jamie's point, and even what Dejana was talking about earlier, if you're doing interactive, collaborative things, that's a cool thing. If you're sitting there idly just taking hours in, then depending on what it is, but that's probably not so good. I'm looking at Tim's musical instruments in the background and thinking, another thing that folks could be doing on screen is playing music together, so if you can get together and Tim's got his guitar and I've got a little drum and somebody else has something else and you can come together and do that. I love it, so I think it's how we can leverage that creativity with the screen time. And to Jamie's point, if this is the way people can connect, good Lord, we do want to still stay connected in some way. And when we can all get together in person, it'd be great. Tim, you going to play for us now?
Well, not unless you want. But I wanted to point out the ukulele is a wonderful entry point for the stringed instruments. A lot of kids may want to learn to play guitar, but getting their arms around it can be hard. And plus, there are 6 strings, and you got to stretch out your hands to get all the way across the fretboard. But a nice little 4-string ukulele is so much easier to get up and running on one of these. And you learn a few hand positions. Some kids worry that they might not be talented enough. And what I point out is that if you can handle a modern video game controller with the shoulder buttons and the triggers and the twin joysticks and all that stuff, you can handle one of these easy. This is so much easier than learning to play, Fortnite properly.
Yeah.
Tim, when did music become a thing for you? How old were you when you started playing?
I actually came to it kind of late because my father was raised in a household with a professional composer and pianist who all but beat her children over the heads with a piano. And so as soon as they all got out of the house, they never touched the stuff again. So in my case, it wasn't until I was 17 years old at a small boarding school, we got a new music teacher who insisted on doing a voice test for everybody. And it turned out I had perfect pitch, so I got drafted into a new chorus that he made. The instruments didn't happen until I was halfway through college and I was working at a summer camp. And, we needed things to do around the campfire. So I got a cheap guitar and a friend who played got me started. So, one thing about music is that you don't have to play at a professional level to have a good time with it.
Right.
Talent only matters if you're doing it for money. If you're doing it for fun, then, then the only relevant measure of success is, are you having a good time? Plus, this summer, you're going to have an audience because nobody can leave the house.
That's right.
Very good point.
Perfect.
And that is it's encouraging to hear that, because I've heard most of your music that's at least public facing, and it's brilliant and it's beautiful, and what you've done for children is just phenomenal. So the fact that you didn't start as a 4-year-old protege makes me really encouraged, because at any point that a child gets interested in music, then we just do what we can to put opportunities in front of them to be able to try new things. And learning a new musical instrument this summer falls into that, mastering something new that Anne suggested, that I think is a really great idea. And Dejana, any murals on your new building? I know you've done some construction at your house. Jamie's suggestion that maybe the beginning of the summer you start a mural that you finish over the course of.
That's so funny, because when Jamie made that suggestion, I was thinking, yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. And I'm sorry, my Wi-Fi is a little weird today, but I came in also on the music conversation, and my house is full of musical instruments because I am such a fan of music, but I don't really know how to play anything. So this summer, I think I'm going to take a dig. You've inspired me, Tim. I kind of play a little bit, but I haven't really, taken a deep dive. And I think I'm going to do that as an example for my children. And we can we're going to have a band by August.
I love it.
That
the ukuleles, the mandolin, and then of course we'll give somebody the tambourine, because one of us doesn't have much.
Now we'll all be watching to see who in the family ends up with the tambourine.
And then the tambourine. Yes, we're gonna make sure we have a tambourine for one specific person for sure, so that they can enjoy it.
That's great.
But
well, I think there's
great
just so
ideas
much
here
to do. Yeah, there's so much that we can do this summer to make it a fun experience, and I think the ideas that came out here are really phenomenal. And when you talk about not being a musician or not playing any of them, Dejana, the one picture that I show people of our professional development is from last summer, when you had a room full of people all playing different drums and it is a picture of maybe 40 people at a professional development, and every face in the room is laughing or smiling or singing, or it's just like, who has this much fun at a professional development? And I say, most anybody who comes to ours now.
There you go. That's so true.
Right.
I do love music. I love music. It's a big part of my life. Before we leave, I just wanted to share with our viewers, I did stumble across, when I was thinking, what could be memorable? What are some things that we could do in the summer with the kids? I stumbled across this amazing website run by pbskids.org. I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to watch this program called Design Squad. So it's a really cool program where these people, they basically build things. But this website basically asks you 3 steps. What category do you like? Do you like the arts, building things, machines, music, party, toys, vehicles? And what do you have at your house? Do you have a balloon, paper, plastic, whatever? And you basically choose what you have at your house. And then it directs you to a library of building activities based on what you said you have at your house. So I think this is a really cool resource. Just Google Design Squad PBS for, I don't know what to do. Well, guess what? You just look around the house, whatever you happen to have, it will direct you to a library of really fun, cool activities, given whatever you have at your house. I thought that was really cool and amazing.
That is really wonderful. And it fits with our whole theory of using found objects for everything, right?
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
I think we're winding down. So if there are any final thoughts from any of you, let's.
I just want to echo what Dejana said. And Leah, I think I shared this with you earlier. So PBS is a wonderful resource. They have another site called PBS Camp Learning Media with, again, just a lot of different activities and things to do and resources to pull through for the summer to make it still learning, but fun learning. So yeah, I appreciate Dejana mentioning that. And I think we can make it a fun summer.
Yeah. Tim,
I had one more thing for Dejana and anyone else who wants to work on an instrument over the summer. YouTube has wonderful instructional videos. What I would suggest is think of a simple song you'd like to play, and then on YouTube, just in the search window, how to play Stairway to Heaven on ukulele, and you will find somebody teaching that. I recommend you don't start with that song, because but most songs are pretty easy. Think about the old folk songs that you sang in school, and those are mostly just 3 or 4 chords. And there are good teachers showing you from multiple camera views exactly where to put your hands and how to hold them. It takes a little practice, but it costs nothing, and it's all there.
Great.
That sounds great. Well, Dejana, I think it's time for us to say goodbye to everybody.
All right. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so looking forward to a memorable summer. I want to thank all of our guest speakers. We really appreciate what you brought to the conversation today. And also, we want to thank all of our viewers. You know what? We're going to have a memorable summer, and we hope you do too. I'm Dr. Dejana, and I'm here with Dr. Leah. This was another live episode of Teachers for Teachers. That's you, Mom and Dad. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.